Oh, homies, what a day it was today. I felt so decent. Felt very decent. Everything moved great. Don't get me wrong, extremely proud of the technique, But today is the day where recovery needed to take its place, be the priority, while I get off of doing such a heavy day yesterday, especially as I'm getting closer to the progressive overload. I got to really understand my current limits so that I don't overdo it and jump right back into the new program without having the strength to actually back up what I'm trying to throw down, It is so nice to really get to just sit back and relive the moment that you're like, that is how you're doing it right, I get that there's a lot of people that aren't a big fan of recording in the gym or whatever, but I think there's such a bigger idea around it, And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, set up your camera, get in everybody's way. Nah. Always ask, always be sure that the people around you are cool with it. If anything, do it in a spot where people aren't going to walk by it, or do it in a spot where it's out of the way, not in front of anybody's lifting, or if there's a good corner of the gym for you to seclude yourself to. I always do the platform at the end because there's a huge chunk of space where there's no machines or benches or platforms or anything where I can just leave it, that it's not going to really bug people. And either way, people typically don't actually care, I think that a huge thing about it is that it's blown up so much out of proportion. Everything's biased when you see it online. That's just chronically going to be an issue. The negatives are always blown up way more than the positives because morbid curiosity is quite a hell of a thing, It gets your serotonin boosting, it gets you feeling all sorts of emotions, it keeps your brain active, And so people are always going to be more entertained with negative interactions than the positive ones. That's just kind of how it always goes, And sure, I've had people say some really odd things to me. I've asked someone if I could record around them at some point, and it's honestly, it's funny now, because I know that it wasn't like a big deal and it was okay, but it's honestly it's not terrifying. It's just crazy that people have to feel so biased toward it because of how insane one person's actions can make them feel, And it's really unfortunate. I've had a girl tell me that she's had a guy sell her feet pics on the black market because they recorded her in the gym, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's funny when you say it in a vague, generalized way, but like when you really think about it, no matter how insane it seems, someone made them think that way. Someone gave them a reason to fully believe that they need to be concerned, and that's nuts, And I hate it when it gets thrown up online as well, because it makes it seem like that's what's going to happen to everyone, when in reality, people typically don't care. People typically even want you to do it because they know it's just you getting excited, It's you wanting to relive that moment of like, I really did that. And let me tell you, when I hit a heavy weight, the brain blacks out, man. I have no memory or any idea of what the lift looks like. I just know that I did it, It's more of a muscle memory that I know I did it than anything. But again, the main thing beyond just making sure people are okay with it is it's not so much of just me being like, oh, well, I just want to show off or whatever. And by the way, it's not a bad thing at all, because damn it, I go to a public gym. If I didn't care about showing off, I'd be lifting in my garage, I want to be uplifted by the people around me, and I want to brag and show off because it's something worth bragging about to me. And the people that are going to get upset about you bragging about you just making a positive effect on yourself and trying to be the best you that you can be, I call that some projection of insecurity, because it's either people got a genuine reason to be afraid, which is very unfortunate but rarely happens, or it's just people being upset to be upset a lot. I've had that happen plenty of times. I've had workers tell me to get out of their gym, and I'm like, dude, I've been recording here for 3 years. Like, there's no chance that that's going to be what happens, And not because I'll record in my own corner, but like, dude, the managers recorded me. You can't just sit there and throw your power around and make me think that I'm the bad guy because I'm just trying to love my lift even more. But again, this is the social aspect. That stuff really does not matter in the grand scheme of when it comes to recording the lift itself. I tell everyone this. It does not matter if you post your lifts. It doesn't. I personally do it because, first of all, sorry, on Instagram, it lets me put the music behind it. And I love to line up the beat drop right when I hit the weight. And trust me, I've had success online. You know, back when I used to do my homosexual moments where I was just cursing up a storm, like being silly, trying to play a character. I mean, I peaked at like 50,000 views at some point. And I know that's not a lot to most people because of how many millions of views you've seen. But for me, that was insane. I'd been used to getting the same 50 people that I already knew that just were watching my stuff because I know them. And for that many people to click on it was bewildering. But I chose not to do that anymore because it took away from what the lifting was for me, you know? I wanted it to just be about the weights and the progress that I made. I didn't want it to be some theatrical character show that I was trying to throw up when, especially on the days where I'm just having a really rough day, and then you have to pull that character right back out. It's like, you don't want to do it, you know? Because I have to go to the gym, but it shouldn't feel like I have to fake it till I make it, you know? But other than that, like, you know, these videos are just for my own mental security. Like, this just fortifies the mindset. So the real biggest reason behind it is I tell people all the time, whenever I have someone come up to me and they say, I hate what I'm doing today. I'm weak. I don't feel strong. Trust me, I felt that today. My mid upper back muscles from the front squat yesterday are destroyed. You know, it was very hard to back squat today. However, I still put in the best effort I could. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you really feel like you are not progressing in this moment and that you feel like you are doing poorly or negatively, show me what you've recorded of yourself or what progress that you had written down or whatever from 6 months ago. And almost every single time, someone's going to sit there and tell me, oh, well, that was 6 months ago. I was shit at the sport back then. That's when I didn't know anything or know any better. And I'm like, it's 6 months. People, I'm telling you, you don't understand how small of a fragment of time that is in the long run of a passion. A passion is lifelong. 6 months is nothing, man. Nothing in the grand scheme of it. If you've got to spend 6 months dragging yourself through the mud just to make 1 pound of progress, that's progress. You succeeded. There was a positive effort in your passions. That's what matters, you know? I hate it when people don't give themselves the credit they deserve because they've held themselves up to such a high standard and expectation that they feel obligated to hit a certain number a certain amount of times a week or a month or whatever. It doesn't matter. Even when I get on the progressive overload this upcoming week, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go into it with the goal of hitting every single weight that I have written down ahead of time. But if I don't, that's okay. I'll just spend another month doing it again. It doesn't matter because I'm still putting in 100%, you know? And so when it comes to recording in the gym, it's not just the action of just wanting to see that lift itself right in that moment again. It's the action of being able to have that as a positive perspective when you feel at your worst, you know? That's why I tell you guys all the time, if you're having a day, call a homie, you know? Let them know that you're having a rough one. Because if you can't be there to support yourself in that moment, rely on the people who will, you know? It's not a bad thing to have people that want to make you feel loved, you know? So if recording yourself and then being able to look back on that and be like, oh shit, what am I complaining about? Is going to make you feel better, then do it. You know, that's how I started the whole thing. I have videos from high school of me doing my first clean and jerks ever. They're abysmal. They're horrid. And, you know, everybody's going to be like, oh, well, that was almost 4 years ago now, Jake. And I'm like, I don't care. I progressed. Even if my max back then was 135 pounds and my max right now was 140 pounds, that is progression. Because when you compare yourself to the way that other people progress, you're not going to give yourself the credit you deserve for that seemingly insignificant, you know, inch of progress, when really that might be the biggest thing that you needed to get to that next level, you know? So obviously, make sure people are cool with it, but it's like, that's kind of just a given, you know? I feel like people don't give each other enough credit for how nice we typically want to treat each other. You know, I typically have only positive experiences in the gym. It's very rare that I run into people that either have it out for me or just have an attitude in general. People are, every time I'm just like, hey, do you, like even people that are behind me, I'm like, do you just care if I leave the tripod around here? Like it's a small tripod. It's literally broken. It's not, you don't need a big setup or anything. It's just something, you know? And almost every single time they're like, oh, please record. Please. In fact, you want me to record. And I'm like, ow. That's just shit. People make you feel like a king, man. And it just goes into that's the stuff I talk about where it's like that raw sense of positivity that comes from nothing. You know, I don't owe these people anything. I don't expect anything from these people, and yet they treat me well anyway. That's the whole essence of the gym, you know? Even if other people aren't going to agree with the way you lift, the way that you record it, how much you record it, it doesn't matter. If it makes you happy and people are cool with it, and it's not making anybody upset, do your thing, you know? Take that positivity the way that you want to take it, because positivity will always be relative to your own life goals and passions, you know? Either way, let me tell you how the lifts went. Because on the snatches, I wanted to do a slow tempo into power snatch. This was a very chill recovery day, let me tell you. I know it doesn't seem chill, but this was nowhere near what I think my maximum peak would be, which is good. It means that my body needs some rest. I needed to take some time to chill. And it means that when I take my next rest day, I will be like way stronger then. Because when I feel sore during the middle of my sessions, it means that rest day is going to hit twice as hard when I take that bit of active or passive recovery. I know it doesn't seem that slow, but when you try to slow down the snatch, it really goes slow. So just that little bit of a tempo change into as hard of a pull as you can do when you get to that power position, it changes the game. And it makes you have a way more vertical pull, even though it's harder to get any weight over your head. And that's the whole point. I failed 225 twice, took a second to breathe. I knew I had it because the first one I caught where I needed it to, but I didn't lock my elbows out. The second one, my elbows locked out, but I caught it over my head instead of over my spine. So I was like, all right, breathe, relock back in, and just do it. I knew I had it from the get-go. I just had to commit to the highest of my own abilities, you know? And don't get me wrong, after doing that, the back squats were not moving. I kept it extraordinarily simple with just a pause back squat, because any sort of accessory movements today would have been extraordinarily light, which I didn't exactly want. But it also just would have been so difficult for my core and my back to hold because of how hard I went yesterday. So I wanted the movement to be simple, and I wanted the weights to be comfortable. So really capped at 405. That is all I had. I know it looks pretty fast, and it looks like I had more in me, and I probably did, but just everything has to be locked in. Your whole core, your whole back, every part of your body needs to be locked in to that extent to add onto it. So I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to come at its own rate, and then I'll get there at some point, right? So physically, you know, I can give it a solid 8.8. It was a really good day. I put in really great effort. Super proud of the technique. This is the first time in a long time that power snatches did not hurt my wrist because I'm doing the slightly more narrow grip. And honestly, just having better turnover, getting it overhead, it's making the lockout way more stable and where it needs to be, regardless of my bone growth. Mentally, man, let me give it a 9.1. It was a great day. It was honestly super chill. There was barely anybody at the gym, but I saw just the right couple of people to get me going, and also the right, few amount of faces that I haven't seen in a while where I'm like, oh, let's rehash, let's get that relationship going again. Because no matter how long it's been, I'm telling you, you could always show some straight raw positivity, and people are going to want to jump right back in where you left off, One way or another, record yourself if you want to, Don't think too hard about it. Don't compare to other people. Just if you feel like it's fun, do it. If it's not, don't. If you feel like you can reflect on your lifting enough by just writing down what you hit or just remembering you're on your own, great. Don't stress about it. It is as simple as whatever gets the serotonin and the passion firing at the highest rate, fully fucking commit as hard as you can, no matter what, and no matter what anybody says. I will be back tomorrow. We have a clean and jerk accessory it'll probably be more focused around the split jerk being more difficult. I'm not sure what I'll do yet. And other than that, I'm going to try to go pretty decently heavy on bench if I feel up to it. I also don't want to rush it because bench is always a scary one because of how much shoulders I'm already hitting with my Olympic lifting. But one way or another, we'll put in the best effort. And I'm one session away. I'm not going to jinx it. Knock on fucking wood. But one session away from my first progressive overload attempt at strength training in almost a year. A legitimate attempt with no pain. So, you're going to see it. We'll be back. Let me know how the lives and lists have been going. And I love you guys. See you later. Bye.